Happy Halloween! Sorry I didn't dress up this year, but it's hard to find a costume that doesn't have arms or legs. Though now that I'm thinking of it, there could have been a lot of great choices. A tree, a lightsaber, a Chinese dragon, but wait, that wouldn't work. They do have legs. Then again, they are tiny, but maybe next year. Anyway, last year I celebrated the holiday by doing several Pokemon themed videos on the creepy side of that game. It was fun and I do have more Pokemon content in the works, but that will have to wait a few more weeks. However, this year I wanted to kick things up a notch and talk about something more mature and not kid friendly. I have a lot of safer children content made in recent years, which along with the time of the year, kinda made me decide to change things up a bit and review a horror movie this time around. But I have a bit of a confession. I don't normally watch these kind of movies by myself. It's not that they scare me, but instead a lot of them, except for the likes of Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street, seem to bore me when I'm watching them alone. I tend to see them with friends cause it's fun to laugh at the cliches or be together with a small group glued to the screen, completely engaged with everything going on.
Can't miss any of the action.
That being said, when I was ready to watch a movie with friends, they decided to see the new Halloween film instead. I didn't go with them because I'm poor. So after thinking on what to do, I went to the only super cheap place I could find, Netflix. They had to have something halfway decent in the horror genre, right? So as I was searching, I found a movie that was made in 2014 called As Above, So Below. It looked interesting from the title, and the trailer made it seem like it was gonna be full of scary goodness, but then I saw the reviews. Not good. It's apparently bad. Like, really bad. And after watching it, there honestly isn't much to say other than I really should have spent the money to go see Halloween in theaters with my friends. So right off the bat, we're introduced to the main character of the movie, Scarlet, illegally entering the Iranian border on a hunt for some mysterious treasure. She's basically a Tomb Raider knockoff, you know the type. A beautiful girl who is a big risk taker all for finding secrets and ancient treasures because she wants to prove her father's research was not a wasted effort in order to find something that doesn't exist, or something.
So your father, there was a lot of speculation that he was mentally unstable. Is there any truth to that?
Why? Because he killed himself?
I don't have a problem with how the actress portrayed the role. She did a good job with what she was given. And that's something I can legitimately say is a positive aspect to the movie. The majority of these actors had good chemistry with each other and were fairly decent actors.
You're up.
Hey yo, I got
Listen to that. And it's over.
Except for this scene. This scene sucked. But back to Scarlet, I honestly forgot what her name was until I wrote the script for this review. No, really, I referred to her as Tomb Raider in my notes while the movie progressed. Her mannerisms, the way she solves riddles, her appearance minus the red hair, even her accent is similar to the rebooted version of Lara Croft.
My father was actually the world's preeminent historian in alchemy.
For years, I resented my father, doubted him like the rest. But he was right about so much. I just wish I could tell him that now.
Is this a bad thing? No, but the similarities are way too close to not be distracting. It's like the writers took their collective fanfiction, removed any licensing issues they may have with Square Enix, and turned it into a movie. Back to the film though, as you watch this introduction scene, you'll notice two things. One is the aforementioned Tomb Raider feel when it comes to the main character, and the other is that this is one of those found footage movies like the Blair Witch Project and Cloverfield. Some people are automatically turned off by this style because it makes them nauseous, or because of the simple fact that these kind of movies rarely have good backgrounds for the characters and the writing suffers as a result of limitations of almost never being able to show these backstories. Instead, they have to rely on telling them over showing them, which isn't as entertaining. Personally, I like this style. It's heavily flawed when it comes to making a good story, sure, but I simply like the low-budget feel and pseudo-realism found footage types movies can deliver. Don't get me wrong, I do prefer a good story over this gimmick, I'll admit, but these kind of movies do offer something fresh and somewhat original that more traditional style films can't. It's a personal thing that I like these kind of movies every now and then, and I don't hold it against anyone who hates them. Anyway, we see Scarlet entering a no-go zone that's about to be destroyed through a secret entrance in some random guy's house, because that's how everybody sneaks into a government-run facility, and she finds a cow? It's okay though, statues are shy, they don't like to be seen.
Do you know what this is?
No.
Oh my god. It's the rose key.
Roast beef?
It's the rose key.
Oh, rose key. So is there a door with a cow-shaped keyhole somewhere? Scarlet looks over the mysterious writing on the cow before running off at the last second before the explosives detonate to find... Okay, wait. She sees a man hanging himself in a detonation zone and her natural reaction is to just say hello like you're starting up a casual conversation with someone? Oh, why yes. Hello there. How are you doing today? What are your plans? No, let me guess. You're just gonna hang around? This is really just a hallucination she's having at the moment. These will happen a couple of times throughout the second half of the movie. Apparently reading cows will do that to a person. She should have probably stuck to books. Anyway, the reason why Scarlet has a camera is that she, along with a friend, is filming a documentary about finding the Philosopher's Stone, a rock that is rumored to heal wounds and grants eternal life. The man who created the stone was an alchemist named Nicholas Flamel. What's interesting about his mythos is that his grave is empty to this day, feeding into the rumors about this stone's power.
Grave robbers, hoping to get their hands on the Philosopher's Stone, tried to dig his body up out of the cemetery that used to surround this area here. They found his casket empty, as well as his wife's.
The only stone currently in existence belongs to Mr. Nicholas Flamel, the noted alchemist, who last year celebrated his 665th birthday.
For the next few minutes, there is a lot of filler here in order to try and introduce two of the other characters. First one introduced is the camera guy, Benji, who isn't really introduced. He's just there in the background, though later you see more of him. Then there's George, a guy who can translate what was written on the cow so Scarlet can decipher some of the hidden text on Flamel's gravestone. They have a history together involving other adventures and a possible romance, but since these moments weren't on film, we can only guess what all happened between them. But after finding some more hidden clues within the gravestone, they find out that the stone is close to hell. Wait, what?
Alchemists believed that the number of the devil was 741, then it makes sense that they would think that hell was 741 feet beneath the surface of the earth, right?
So halfway twixt.
So 370.5 feet beneath Flamel's tombstone is where we'll find the stone.
I even believe hell exists, and I'm having a hard time understanding the logic of this. Why would hell be that close to Earth's surface, let alone being a physical place to visit in that exact location instead of a spiritual one filled with the tormented souls of those who are lost? Is alchemy hell different than Christian hell? I tried looking it up, but all I could find were reviews of a heavy metal song by some band called The Grave Alchemist. The name is somewhat ironic now that I'm thinking about it. They decided that the easiest way to the stone is through the catacombs in Paris, which coincidentally they were already in. On a side note, this movie actually was made in those catacombs, and it caused some real problems filming wise as cell phones couldn't find any signal and it was hard to get electricity to the locations they needed to go. I thought it was pretty interesting, to be honest. But the three explorers can't go very far as many parts of the catacombs are blocked off to most people, so they go to a club to enlist a man named Papillon who is infamous for trespassing the hidden areas in the city and... wait. Do you see that girl? Why is she staring directly at the camera? Oh well, it's not like she's foreshadowing something horrible happening, right?
Correct!
There really isn't much to tell from here until the next several minutes of the movie. It just goes on and on with barely anything of relevance to the majority of the movie. And again, it's a flaw with these found footage styles of filmmaking. These several minutes are to try and develop any chemistry all of these characters have, but it's forced to be rushed due to the need for more action and, well, this is a horror movie and there's been no scares yet. Unless you count the hanging man at the beginning, which I don't because it was more weird than creepy. So we get to see Papillon's weird burn marks, his crew hiding secrets behind those burn marks, and this.
You're up. Hey yo, I
Listen to that. And it's over.
Do it like that?
3 seconds. You said.
This is just so cringy, though on the other hand, life can be full of cringe when on film, so bonus points for realism? It still sucked though. They get their headlights and GoPros ready when George decides to chicken out. That is until the option to back away is taken from him.
Okay, listen. I don't know what to do, but you make up your mind now, okay?
He's coming, he's coming.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Finally, the first attempt to really scare you, but it's just a lame jump scare of a cop tackling Papillon, who breaks away somehow and George decides it's better to run into the literal hellhole rather than face jail time and friends for trespassing. I'm sure he won't regret his life decisions.
That's me. The classic pap.
Nice.
PAP is a method of cervical screening used to detect potentially precancerous and cancerous processes in the cervix. I think we got something mixed up in translation here.
There is always some weird people out here.
What's a found footage film without creepy cultists, am I right? Sheesh, don't look at me like that. Though, isn't that the girl who was staring at the camera twice in the club? Really hammering in the foreshadowing there, aren't you, movie? Anyway, the crew winds up in a crossroads of where to go next. Scarlet wants to go down a walled-off path that leads directly to the Philosopher's Stone, while Papillon wants to go the longer, safer route by crawling through a wall of bones. That's pretty morbid.
Nobody uses this corridor.
Why not?
It's a bad place.
We're talking about some kind of urban legend or something. This could save us hours.
You think?
She's arguing that it's silly to listen to urban legends. She does know she's in those catacombs trying to find a mythical immortality stone, doesn't she? Though after some more vaguely explained backstory about one of Papillon's missing crew members who knew the catacombs pretty well but got lost in the dangerous path, they decide to go with a safer route. And to be fair here, this scene does lead to an intense and unsettling part where Benji is trapped in the bones and he's panicking and desperately trying to move. It goes on for a couple of minutes, but this is where found footage style movies shine. The minimalism can really capture raw fear and deliver it in a realistic way depending on where the camera is at the time. Here, it's placed right at Benji's face in a tight, dark area, and the focal point of the entire moment is his face and how terrified he is in his current situation. It's very well done here. But after he digs himself out, they realize that they went in a circle leading back to the dangerous path. This time they feel they have no choice but to go that way instead.
Did you hear that? Is that a phone?
It's a dangerous hellhole, but at least there's phone service there. The pros and cons even themselves out here. Oh, and look, there's even a piano!
When I was a kid, we had a piano that looked exactly like this.
Really?
Danny and I used to play it all the time. We only knew one song.
Don't go too near it. Every time there's a piano in a haunted place, things don't end well. Haven't you ever seen a 1950s-style landline in the demonic part of French catacombs before? Sheesh, these millennials, they don't know what to do with old technology. Just answer it, it's probably important. Actually, it's just some generic creepy voice who knows Scarlet's name. It's pretty cliche, really. Oh, and speaking of cliches, the crew finds the stereotypical creepy guy you know they shouldn't trust but do anyway because reasons. This time it's in the form of Papillon's missing crew member who got lost despite knowing the catacombs better than anyone. Irony. What even is it? They go deeper down the catacombs with Benji getting injured, and then even more weirdness happens to them, like their hearing is muffled as if they're underwater, only for a loud noise jump scare and a knockoff of Georgie from Stephen King's It. Spooky. It's actually a hallucination of Georgie's brother who drowned, apparently. Yeah, this is another hint of weird things about to happen, much like at the beginning with the hanging man. But it's ignored for now because they find the body of a Templar perfectly preserved, providing more hints to go even deeper in the cave.
Winged Vulture leads your way, with brightest light and darkest day.
Beware my power. Green Lantern's light!
They do eventually find the treasure room, Philosopher's Stone included. Scarlet chips the stone away while Papillon's crew go after the gold.
Wait, it's a trap. Wait, stop, it's a trap! Stop! Stop!
It's a trap!
One of the crew members is badly injured, but she's healed with the stone's powers. They try to find a way out, and this time the cave does provide a helpful hint.
This is as above, so below. That phrase is believed to be the key to all magic.
And it also makes for a catchy title when you don't have the licensing for Tomb Raider. They discover a path leading down into the earth and find that the next sign in the cave isn't as helpful as the one before.
Can you read that? What does it say?
Abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
In other words, welcome to hell.
Everything's the wrong way around.
This is upside down.
The Upside Down? Hope they don't get attacked by a Demigorgon. Though at this point, it'd be nice to have any kind of horror-ish event to happen in this movie. I mean, let's be honest here. This has been a very hard movie to review. It's not that there isn't much to talk about here, but that there isn't much of anything exciting to talk about. I mean, the entire movie is one long crawl to this point where the horror really starts to ramp up, and this late into the movie, it's now more out of place than the rest of the film. The scary moments in the last 20 minutes of the movie doesn't match the pacing the previous hour was building up towards. It's also difficult to look at everything after this point too, because for whatever reason the director decided to throw everything at you at once. It's so jumbled and messed up, and it's just confusing. So now that they're in hell, you'd think they try to escape, but nope, the cave sealed them in, forcing the crew deeper into the upside down, and the place seems like a mirror of the above world, only creepier. Oh, and there's that really creepy guy who shouldn't be trusted. Now wait, why shouldn't he be trusted? Oh, that's why. Well, at least they can use the Philosopher's Stone to revive her, right?
It can't bring back the dead. I'm sorry.
I'm guessing it also can't force anyone to fall in love with you or kill anyone itself, right? Is it following genie rules?
Phenomenal cosmic powers!
Well, one person is now dead, so it means that the crew will be more careful as to prevent more deaths, meaning not letting anyone being alone, right?
Hello?
Are all the scary moments just gonna be jump scares? Did Scott Cawthorne write this? But after Benji's death, they continue through hell and George encounters a rather lame hallucination of his brother drowning underwater. Oh look, a child is drowning and George feels guilty about it. Isn't that creepy? But as I was thinking that this was the worst hallucination in the movie, I quickly found out the next one is. The surviving crew finds a burning car in the cave, this one being tied with Papillon. Yeah, remember the burn mark on his hand from earlier? Well, as it turns out, these hallucinations are all about your greatest regrets and fears in your past. Papillon's was never explained, so from the viewer's perspective, it's just there for no reason whatsoever. But what happens with this hallucination? What was that? The car eats itself in Papillon like it's a black hole or something, and all that's left is his feet dangling in the ground like he's some kind of potted plant? Is this a horror movie or a dark comedy? Oh wait, it gets even better. Apparently the walls suddenly come to life in the form of statues and attack George in yet another jump scare. Are we now watching Doctor Who?
Don't turn your back, don't look away, and don't blink.
Scarlet tries to use the Philosopher's Stone again, but it fails like before. Though George isn't dead yet, which leads Scarlet to the conclusion that she took the wrong stone, so she then has to make a mad dash towards the mirrored version of the treasure room to find the correct one. Way to go at making your monsters even less scary, movie.
Move, bitch! Get out the way!
Oh, and let's add a random bloodbath scene because scary, whoa. One jump scare I can forgive. It's cliched, it's expected in horror movies, I get it. But this one is completely pointless. The girl here serves no point in this movie whatsoever. She's just there to look creepy and provide cheap jump scares, and that's literally it. The other supposed creepy moments are tied to each character's regrets. This girl has no connection to them, and plus she's just not scary. Jump scares in general aren't scary. They're just there for a quick rush of emotion that dies almost as fast. And to do one right now? Come on, that's just not good writing. I know these kind of movies don't really explain much, but I think in this case it's kinda necessary. Why did you stare for so long at your reflection? Is that mirror the stone?
Dad. Sorry.
Well, that's a little strange, but at least there's a tiny bit of explanation about who the hanging man is. And apparently rectifying and apologizing for your regrets seem to make the hallucinations disappear, cause that makes things better in hell, but what about the stone? Hold up. What was that? Where's the stone? Was the reflection really the stone? Did the stone transfer its powers to Scarlet when she stared at her own reflection? That's the only thing I can think of, seeing she just pulled a reverse Snow White here. So anyway, they find one final hole. Scarlet asks the 2 remaining crew members to rectify their sins and jump down in it, all to reveal they literally are upside down as they discover a manhole and climb out of the cave. Apparently it takes time for gravity to take effect once you venture into the depths of hell, but that's literally it. They hug it out and the movie is over. All in all, it's not a good film. The first 2/3 was an awkwardly slow build-up that led to a jumbled mess of creepy images and jump scares that were never scary. It seems like the film wanted to take you down a slow path down the rabbit hole into a disturbing, hellish wonderland, but the rapid execution of jump scares and hallucinations in the last 20 minutes really ruined the pacing. If they used the creepy images sparingly like they did with the earlier parts of the movie, the film might have turned out to be decent, as I was actually somewhat invested in Scarlet and her quest for the stone. But that last jumbled mess just ripped me out of the immersion. I was left confused about what I witnessed. But hey, at least there's no more lame jump scares, right? You thought I was gonna do one, didn't you? Nah, that was my last video. Jump scares are best used rarely, so here I'll just head on out. Thank you for watching and happy Halloween.
You're up. Hey yo, I
Listen
got
to that.
rah.
And it's over.
Do it like that.